Hello everybody and welcome to What If Midoriya Was the Shield Hero. If you have missed any of the previous parts, you can find the link down in the description. That said, please like, subscribe, and all that jazz that YouTube wants you to do so this video does well, and enjoy the video. After grinding out some levels and going to a merchant's tent, where he purchased a slave, the shield hero finds himself looking at an abused young girl. "It's nice to meet you, Raphtalia," Midoriya says with a gentle smile on his face, trying to put her at ease. Midoriya gets up, looking at the man who sold him the girl. "I guess it's time to pay you now," he says with a stern expression. He pulls out a pouch, quickly adjusting the amount of money before handing it to the man. He then spots the ink that was used to bond Raphtalia to him and asks, "How much for a bit of the ink?" "You want the ink?" the slave merchant asks. Midoriya nods. "It's on the house," the merchant says, "as a tribute to our future partnership." Midoriya fades the ink to the shield, unlocking the slave user's shield. He walks back to Raphtalia and with a gentle tone says, "Come on, let's get you out of here." Still a bit reserved, Raphtalia hesitates to move, but does so after a moment. He moves out of the tent with Raphtalia close behind him. He moves slowly so as to not lose her. After they get out of the shady area, Midoriya turns to her and with a gentle smile asks, "Do you want anything to eat?" Not knowing how he'll react, Raphtalia lies, saying, "No, of course I don't." "You sure?" asks Midoriya. He then hears Raphtalia's stomach grumble and continues, "I'm pretty hungry myself. Let's go get a bite anyway." They both then walk to a nearby pub, with Midoriya hearing Raphtalia cough every few minutes. They reach the pub and Midoriya enters. Raphtalia looks at the sign that prohibits demi-humans from entering, being a bit hesitant to do so. Midoriya asks, "What's the matter?" It's nothing," Raphtalia says, entering the establishment. They sit down and Midoriya quickly opens his menu, setting his shield to autocraft some medicine. He then calls the waiter, ordering a kid's meal and a cheapish meal for himself. When the food arrives, Raphtalia is hesitant to eat it. "What are you waiting for? It's gonna get cold," Midoriya says while taking a bite of his own food. Is it all for me?" Raphtalia asks, looking at her meal with a desire in her eyes. "Yeah, so dig in," Midoriya answers. Raphtalia then starts eating with her hands, overstuffing herself. Midoriya hands her a glass of water to wash the food down. As they eat, a small ding is heard coming from Midoriya's shield. He pulls something out of the shield's inventory and hands it to Raphtalia. "What's this?" she asks with a mouthful of food. "It's a medicine. It should help you with your cold," Midoriya says. She takes the medicine, spitting it out immediately after eating it. "It's so bitter," she complains. Midoriya lets out a small chuckle and says, "Good medicine usually is. You'll see. You'll feel a lot better after you take it." After they finish their food, they step out of the pub. Midoriya starts walking. Before he can get far, however, Raphtalia asks, "Can I ask you a question?" Midoriya responds, "Sure, go ahead." "Why are you being so kind to me?" she asks. He looks at her for a moment and asks, "Why wouldn't I be?" It's just demi-humans are usually treated badly in Melromark," she answers. "I've seen that, but don't really agree with it. I think you should treat others, no matter where they came from or any other genetic component, the same way. You were sick, so I helped you. Easy as that." She smiles and says, "You really are the shield hero." Midoriya lifts his shield and says, "I am." He then turns to Raphtalia and asks, "What do you want to do now?" "What do you mean?" Raphtalia asks while tilting her head. "Well, I only bought you because you looked like you were in pain and needed help. You're free to go and do whatever you want. Although if you want to stick around, you can. But be warned, things can get a bit dangerous," Midoriya answers. "So what do you want to do?" "I want to stay with you and help you in any way I can," she says with a smile on her face. "Are you sure?" Midoriya asks. "It's going to get pretty dangerous. You'll probably have to fight." "I'm sure," Raphtalia reiterates. After all, you're here to save the world, right? Midoriya nods. He sends her a party invitation, which she accepts, and he says, "Then let's go get you some equipment, so you can at least defend yourself." They head to the weapon shop. After entering, Erhard comes to the counter and says, "What can I do you for?" "Oh, it's you, kid. So what can I do for you?" "I kind of need some equipment. A sword, maybe," Midoriya says. "A sword, huh? I thought you couldn't use any weapons aside from that shield, though," the weaponsmith says. "It's not for me," Midoriya says, moving out of the way to reveal Raphtalia. "It's for her." "Oh, I didn't see you there, little lass," Erhard says with a smile on his face. "So you went and bought yourself a slave, huh?" Erhard asks Midoriya. "Honestly, didn't peg you for the type." Midoriya explains himself, with the old man understanding pretty well. After hearing the story, he looks at the girl, who's holding on to Midoriya's cloak. "So what's your budget anyway?" Erhard asks, turning back to Midoriya. Midoriya looks at his money pouch. He opens it to check how much he has. "Well, I was saving for armor, but I guess getting her a weapon is more important. I have about 45 silver, so let's say 30 as a budget," Midoriya answers. "I can give you something a bit decent then. It's a small sword that can help her in the beginning. It even has a blood coating that'll help in the beginning," Erhard says. Raphtalia receives the weapon, and the two head out to the woods. Before heading into the forest, however, Midoriya gives Raphtalia a last warning and tells her that if she needs help, he'll be there. Just like that, they start leveling. At first, Raphtalia is very hesitant to fight the monsters, mainly because of her fear of blood. But seeing Midoriya do it, she pushes past her trauma and keeps going. At the end of the first day, Midoriya reaches level 20, having already had a high level beforehand, now having unlocked a bunch more shields, and Raphtalia is now level 7. As Raphtalia takes some medicine, Midoriya prepares dinner, cutting an usapi apart to only get the meat. He then cooks it. Night falls and Raphtalia goes to sleep, with Midoriya keeping watch for monsters. Midoriya nourishes her night traumas, though. The next 2 days, the cycle repeats, with them selling the materials from the previous day and then going back to level up. On the third day, having fully explored the whole forest, they head to the nearby mountain, where they easily defeat all the monsters. At this point, Midoriya reached level 27 and Raphtalia 25. She even grew up during this time. On the third day, night starts to fall down and both head back to the castle town. "This was a pretty productive day," says Raphtalia. "Yeah, and with the money we've been getting, we might be able to get farther away from the castle and go on an actual adventure. But first we need some better equipment for you. Not to mention remove the slave crest," Midoriya says. "You shouldn't think about that. Focus on your own equipment. Your own life is no joke, Midoriya," Raphtalia says. They reach the castle town, quickly sell their wares before the stores close for the day, and head to the weapon shop. "Hello?" Midoriya asks, entering the shop. "It's a little late, don't you think, kid?" Erhard says while stepping out of the back. "I was just about to close for the day." "That's too bad. We can come back tomorrow," Midoriya says. "Don't worry about it. What can I do for you today?" "Hope it's not just information," the weaponsmith says. "We come for some equipment," Raphtalia says while pulling out a beaten sword. "Well, it did last quite a bit. It doesn't seem like it will last much longer." "Ah, I see. So the lass needs a new sword," Erhard says, analyzing the sword. "I got just the sword you can use. What else do you need?" "Well, some armor would be nice," Midoriya says. "We have about 500 silvers we can use." "That much, huh? Well, I got a lot of stuff you can try on," Erhard says. "Actually," Midoriya says, pulling out a piece of paper he ripped from his notebook, "any chance you can make something like this? I would like an armor that can offer up extra defense and increase my stats if possible." Erhard looks at the piece of paper and says, "A custom order, huh? Well, I can do it, but I'm going to need you to get the materials for me." Midoriya pulls out another piece of paper listing all the things that he has in his shield that can be used. "You got all this stuff?" Erhard asks, surprised. "Where do you keep it?" "The shield can hold stuff. Pretty convenient, actually. We've been selling a lot of materials, but that's what we decided to keep," Midoriya says. "All this stuff can fetch you a pretty penny," Erhard comments. "So can you make me some armor with that?" he asks. I'll need to pick up some more, but aside from that, I have everything I need, Erhard says. Where can we get the ore? Midoriya asks. There are many places you can buy it, although with the amount of money you have, you won't get that much. Otherwise, you can mine it. There are a couple of small mining towns around. You could go to Loot Village. It's not that far away. You can get all the ore you need there and even sell the excess for profit. If you get me the ore, I'll make you the finest armor you've ever seen, Erhard answers. Thanks, says Midoriya. Great, how much do you think that'll be? Raphtalia asks. For you guys, I'd say 250 silvers, Erhard answers. Both of them smile at each other. Then Midoriya says, so we have 250 silvers left over for your equipment, Raphtalia. So what are you looking for, little lass? Oh, I guess I can't call you that anymore. You really grew up. The interaction goes on for a bit more, with Erhard and Midoriya complimenting Raphtalia on how she grew up, and then they buy her some armor and a new sword. After that, they pay Erhard 210 silvers for the equipment and go to a nearby inn to stay the night. The next day, they set out early in the morning for Loot Village, arriving there in the early afternoon, after fighting a bunch of monsters on the way. Once there, they sell a couple excess materials they gather along the way. How much can you give us for these? Raphtalia asks after the merchant examines the materials. I can give you 10 silvers for all of it, give or take 5 coppers, he says. They exchange the money for the goods, but before leaving, Midoriya asks, where's the mine shaft around here? I heard this was a mining town. It's in the mountains to the west, outside the wall, but I'd be careful if you're going there. Ever since the wave, it's become a nesting ground for a bunch of monsters. Nobody goes there these days, the merchant answers. Midoriya thanks him, and both him and Raphtalia go to the mine. They make a quick stop in an abandoned mine shack, grabbing 3 pickaxes, one for Midoriya, one for Raphtalia, and another one that Midoriya fits to the shield. He also puts some rope in, unlocking the airstrike shield and the rope shield. Raphtalia asks, so what's the plan, Midoriya? Well, the mine is full of monsters, so I think we should clear it out first before we do anything rash. After that, we can start mining the materials, he responds. They then venture into the cave, taking down small monsters as they go along. By the way the merchant was talking about it, I thought the monsters here would be more of a challenge, Raphtalia comments while striking a bat monster. Midoriya kicks another one against the wall, killing it, while saying, I know what you mean. Just then, Midoriya hears the sound of a sword falling to the ground. He turns to where the sound came from and looks at Raphtalia on the floor, a bit pale, looking at a darker part of the cave. What's the matter? He asks while rushing to her side. She struggles to say, the dog monster. It killed all the villagers, even my parents. As she says this, the 2-headed black dog steps out of the shadows, then lunges at both of them. Midoriya raises his shield, blocking one of the heads from biting him. The other head, however, is left completely free and bites into Midoriya, but doesn't penetrate his skin due to his high level and defense. Midoriya turns to Raphtalia and asks, Are you alright? Raphtalia just looks at the beast in shock, bringing out her trauma from when the wave hit. Seeing that Raphtalia is in shock, Midoriya activates One for All, pushing the beast away. He then lunges at the beast himself, punching it, but it doesn't do much damage. He jumps in a couple more times, trying to get the beast away from Raphtalia, but it just keeps going after her, since it can't do much to Midoriya. Realizing that he can't do much to the beast while sticking to his 8% limit, Midoriya decides to push his limits, activating more of One for All. Let's say 15%. He jumps at the beast. He manages to do some damage, pushing the beast away a bit and making it bleed, but still not enough. The 2-headed dog lunges at Raphtalia again. Midoriya jumps in the way to block the attack, and the dog bites into him. This time, however, the bite penetrates, hurting Midoriya and making him bleed. He screams out in pain while thinking, I thought he couldn't hurt me. Hearing the scream and seeing the blood, Raphtalia snaps out of it. She grabs her sword from the ground, and with Midoriya keeping it in place, she slashes through the beast, killing it. What happened? Midoriya asks. I could ask the same thing, Raphtalia retorts. I'm not sure, Midoriya says while checking his stats. One for All is still active. He realizes that his stats are different and exclaims, Where did my defense go? My speed and strength have more than multiplied, but at the same time the defense has been cut in half. He deactivates One for All, and with that, his stats return to normal. He then starts mumbling, theorizing what it could mean. I'm sorry, Raphtalia says, snapping him out of the mumbling. I lost my composure. The beast. It reminds you of the one that killed your parents during the first wave, Midoriya completes. Raphtalia looks at him in surprise. It's not too hard to deduce. Plus, you talk in your sleep. Don't worry about it. As long as you learn from the experience, it'll just make you stronger. Just try to keep that in mind in the future, because next time it may end up costing you your life. Raphtalia looks at him and nods. Midoriya feeds the two-headed black dog to a shield and says, Great! Now it's time to do some mining. Grabbing a pickaxe and swinging it on some more. Raphtalia grabs hers and they start mining. The first piece Midoriya feeds to his shield, unlocking the light metal shield. The rest they save up. After they have enough, they head out of the mine to an inn for the night. The next day they mine a bit more ore and head back to the castle town. Once they are there, they head to the weapon shop, handing Erhard all the materials he'll need. So, can you get it done before the wave? Midoriya asks. Well, seeing as the wave is 4 days away, I think I can manage. Come back in 3. I'll have it ready by then, Erhard answers. They then leave the shop, leaving him to his own devices, and they head to the pharmacy to sell some medicines. On the way, they meet an emissary from Shield Frieden, who they dismiss, angering him a bit. The next few days, they keep leveling up in the surrounding areas of the castle. A day until the wave, and Midoriya and Raphtalia go to pick up the armor at Erhard's shop. Erhard shows him the piece of armor and asks, What do you think, kid? Midoriya looks at him, very impressed, and answers, It looks great! Thank you so much. He pulls out his pouch and hands him a bag with some money. No need to thank me. Glad to help, kid, Erhard answers while accepting the cash. He goes to a changing area while he puts on the new piece of armor, which looks a lot like his own hero costume, but mixed a lot with medieval armor aesthetic and with some elements of Naofumi's armor. It is on screen every single time I mention Midoriya. Midoriya steps out of the changing room and asks, How do I look? You look so cool, it really suits you, says Raphtalia, admiring the new piece of armor. Plus it has great defense stats and many other useful skills, Midoriya adds. I call it the shielded armor, made specifically for you. You look like a true blue hero, or well, green, says Erhard. Raphtalia says, You did a great job, Erhard. Now, we're ready for anything the wave can throw at us. If only we knew when and where it was going to be exactly, Midoriya comments. We could be more prepared. You mean no one told you? Erhard asks. Tell me what? Midoriya asks himself. About the Dragon Hourglass. If you register with it, it should tell you exactly when the wave is coming. It's in the church, Erhard answers. A bit more talking and Midoriya and Raphtalia leave the shop, passing through the wave preparation march while going to the Three Heroes Church. While walking, they note how the symbol has a piece of every legendary weapon, excluding the shield. Once they arrive at the church, they wait for a moment and are allowed in by one of the sisters. Midoriya walks onto the hourglass platform. When he steps foot on it, a light beam comes out of his shield, hitting the hourglass. Just like that, the timer now appears on his field of vision. The timer says 20 hours and 12 minutes until the wave. Well, we got what we needed. Time to go, Raphtalia, Midoriya says while turning to leave. As they walk out, they hear a voice. Oh, is that Midoriya? Still wearing some awful equipment, huh? Where'd you even get that? I never saw anything like it. Midoriya turns around to see Motoyasu and his party. Upon seeing Melty, a bit of anger swells up, but he still answers politely. It's a custom order. Motoyasu laughs and says, Custom order, huh? Those usually end up being pretty bad. What do you expect from the worthless shield? Adds Mine. Midoriya, who are these people? Do you know them? Asks Raphtalia. Midoriya answers, That's the spear hero in his party. Spear hero? As in the other cardinal heroes? Asks Raphtalia again. Midoriya nods. And who's this beauty? Says Motoyasu while walking to Raphtalia to flirt with her. We should get going. We still have some preparations to make before the wave starts, says Midoriya. That's right, you should leave before you infect us with your incompetence, adds the first princess. They head to the door, where they meet both Itsuki and Ren. Hello, Midoriya, how's it going? Says Itsuki. Sup, adds Ren. Hi, says Midoriya. It's actually going pretty well. We managed to get some nice equipment for the wave and got some good grinding in thanks to your tips. Glad to be able to help, says Itsuki. Midoriya talks for a couple of minutes with the bow and sword heroes, catching up a bit, even thanking them for their help a couple of weeks ago. All while Motoyasu flirts with Raphtalia. After they finish talking, Midoriya says, See you in the wave then. Try not to get in our way, responds Ren. Just then, because he got a little too close, Raphtalia hits Motoyasu and pins him to the ground. Mine launches a fire attack at her, screaming, How dare you touch him, you filthy demi! Swipe fire shot! Before the fireball can hit Raphtalia, Midoriya rushes to her side. In the blink of an eye, he's there to block the attack. Mine gets ready to throw another attack, but before she can, You shouldn't be fighting in here, Midoriya shouts. This is a church, a sacred place. If you want to fight, you should take it outside. Mine's going to attack regardless, but Itsuki steps in to aid him, backing his point, so Mine backs off. Midoriya looks at Raphtalia and she lets Motoyasu go. He then apologizes for her behavior and they leave the church. Once they leave the church, Midoriya scolds her a bit. He understands the situation but tells her that if things in the country are as bad as he thinks, that she can't act so brashly. They spend the next day preparing for the wave, making healing ointments and potions and such, aside from leveling up as much as they can. When night arrives, they go to an inn to get some rest, and in the morning they make their final preparations. A couple of minutes left until the wave, Raphtalia says, Thank you, Midoriya. Surprised, Midoriya asks, Thank you for what? For saving me, she answers. For feeding me and for curing my illness. Without you, I doubt I wouldn't have survived much longer. And thank you for giving me a purpose. It's a true honor to have met you. I now understand that I am meant to help you in your quest against the waves, to aid you wherever I can, and wherever you need. Midoriya is touched at the comment. Just that moment, something pops up on screen. Shield unlocked. Companion shield. Growth maturation, small. The moment the shield is unlocked, Raphtalia's stats increase a bit. Midoriya ignores the new shield and says, It was the right thing to do. Thank you for all that you've helped me with. Thank you for fighting alongside me, Raphtalia. Let's do our best in the wave. Raphtalia nods in agreement, her tail wagging. A loud gong is then heard, as the pair, along with the other heroes and their parties, are enveloped in a light, sending them to the wave. And that's the end of the video. I do hope you all enjoyed it thoroughly. Please hit that like, subscribe button. And before I end the video, I have something else to say about how One For All works. So, as you have seen in the last few videos, there's probably been some mystery to this. The way the shield works in conjunction with One For All, that was kind of alluded to in the first episode in Midoriya's dream. The shield adds defense to Midoriya, but when Midoriya activates One For All going past his normal limits, the defense shrinks while he uses more of One For All, meaning he can use more of One For All without damaging himself, but at the cost to his defense. So that's just a way to balance out the power and to kind of give an explanation for why One For All works, because in the light novels, Naofumi can't attack with his fists or even use judo moves to pin anyone, because that counts as a weapon. So I hope that sheds a light on the situation. I do hope you all enjoyed this video. Next one should be out soon. I kind of had a bit of delays in the production of this one. Hope you all enjoyed. Again, hit that like button, subscribe, share it, do all you can for it, and see you next time, everyone. Bye!